Hello. In this training, I'm going to talk through some travel tips. If you are an older athlete and you're thinking about getting back out there and competing, and most of my remarks will be around track and field, but these tips would be good for any older athlete who's coming back and just maybe wanting to solidify their options or just have a few ideas as to how to make it work, especially if you have a limited income. All right, first thing we want to focus on is getting there. And so I'm going to recommend a couple of things to start with. So I'm going to start with navigation. And so you can either use Google Maps or you can use Waze. Now, Google Maps you can use from your laptop, as I'm doing this demonstration, your desktop, laptop, or you can use the app in your on your device. I find that you'll have some different ways to do the things you want to do, depending. But definitely Google Maps, and I can't demonstrate Waze from the desktop here, but certainly when you think about a city that you're going to, for example, coming up here shortly, there's the Encore Games. California has a last chance senior games activity, competition, that's a qualifying meet. And so if I want to see how long it might take me to get there, I live in Southern California. I'm going to put Riverside. That's my city. And let's see, are you going to let me do it? There you go. And it tells me that if I'm going to drive, it's going to take me about 7 hours to get to San Mateo. And I'm going to break that trip up a little bit. So if I needed to break it up, I'm going to stop and visit friends in Fresno. So let's see, Fresno, let's reorder it. That's kind of the wrong direction there. There we go. So, but I'm going to stop. So if I want to see all the details and how long that's going to take from Riverside to Fresno, it's going to be about 4 hours, depending on the time of day, of course. And then from Fresno to San Mateo, it's going to be about 3. So Google Maps is a great way to figure out your navigation and your travel plans. So if you have friends or if you have networking opportunities you want to do, maybe you'll look on your Facebook to see if people have listed their cities, or if you're in touch regularly, you'd know. Or maybe LinkedIn, if it's more professional opportunities you're looking for, you can certainly search in the areas where you're going to do and then going to travel, and then you will have an opportunity to mix business with pleasure. So I would recommend Google Maps and Waze. Now I use them both, but I primarily use Waze as my navigation app, and I find that it gives me a quicker response. If I need to change directions, it'll change directions pretty quickly. Google Maps will do it as well, but it just doesn't seem to do it as quickly. But then that's just been my experience, and I have no experience with Apple Maps. So if that's one of your apps that you use, more power to you. Okay, now I will also say, and I haven't put it in here, but there is a way, and maybe I'll put this in another training. There's a way to include events that you have on your calendar. Events that you have on calendar is a way to include Facebook events on your calendar, particularly in Google. And then if you have a Google Calendar event, Waze can look at your calendar and let you know, hey, it's time for you to get going. And Google Maps also, obviously, where you can click out from your event to Maps, and it will help you navigate there. But Waze will read your calendar and say, hey, it's time to get going, and so on. So in terms of your local travel, I would suggest Waze and Google Maps. Now, if you're traveling by car, then you're going to want to be able to make sure the gas is affordable. So I suggest a site called Gas Buddy. This is what Gas Buddy looks like on its homepage. And I'm just going to do a quick check of gas prices here near where I live. I live in inland Southern California in Riverside. And you can see that it will list gas prices. So wherever you happen to live, you can find out where the gas prices are that are more affordable. And you can see obviously that the users will rate the gas stations and so forth and so on. I'm not sure how those people rate them, but that's part of the socialization and the gamification. So I don't necessarily pay that a whole lot. But now let's say you're traveling and you're looking in a certain area. You might look at the map. If you have a local meet and you're thinking about where you might and how much the gas is going to cost, maybe. So you can see they do have some stations that are in green. I don't know if those are recently changed. I can't remember why those are light green or if they're sponsored. And then you have regular. And sometimes there'll be a Costco or whatever. You click on a link there, you'll see this is an ARCO and this is the price, and this was reported about a day ago by this person. You can report on Gas Buddy whether or not you have an account there or not. Gas Buddy does also have an app for your device. Now, the nice thing also, if you're going to be driving and you're using a site like Gas Buddies, you can use what's called Plan Your Trip. So let's say that I was going to start here at home in Riverside. Oops, there it is, Riverside, California. And I'm going to go to San Mateo. San Mateo, California. Oops, there you are. And I'm going to stop in Fresno. Okay, so that gives me start and end. And then I'm going to, I'm going to use my vehicle that I'm going to take. Unfortunately, this time I'm taking an older vehicle, so let's say it's this year, and it's I can put the make and model. It's a 4Runner. Let's see. I don't see the 4Runner. Let's see. Should be up the top. Yes, there we go. So I will do that one. And it tells you what its estimated MPGs are and how big the tank is, fuel type. Okay. So I'm going to calculate my trip. And it will look to see where I would typically need to get gas. And then how much my cost would be. So if this is accurate, I can plan on that trip costing me $150. And that may or may not be within your budget. So that kind of helps you decide whether or not you want to do that or not. And as you see here, it says, okay, fill up at Madera. That's the first place you're going to fill. That's way up north above Fresno. And that's pretty inexpensive there. But then you get closer into San Jose, it goes back up a little bit. And then coming back down. So the cost is $150. All right. And that's just, one way that you can kind of get a sense for how much to plan for your trips. Right, so that's Gas Buddy and their Plan Your Trip. You can only do the Plan Your Trip, I believe, on the desktop version, or the browser version, as opposed to within the app. Okay, so we've talked about gas and directions and things like that. The next thing I want to talk about is lodging. If you're going to have to stay overnight, there's 3 different ways I think I'll talk about very quickly here. The first one I'll talk about is couch surfing. Now, couch surfing is this idea that we can share our homes with locals and or travelers. So, as you see here, stay with locals and meet travelers. So, if I'm going up north, let's say to San Mateo for the senior games, the Encore games, or if I'm traveling to the National Senior Games in Albuquerque, then I could log in and do that. So I'm going to log in real quickly here, and let's see. Oops, I'm already a member. Shoot, already a member. Log in. All right, so let's see. Well, oh, I hit the wrong button. All right. Okay. All right. So, and on Couchsurfing, what you can do, you can find hosts, as you can see up here at the top. And I will put San Mateo, Mateo, California. Very good. And within that San Mateo, California, then I can see, I can tell it what dates I'm going to be there. So let's say I was going to be up there Friday the 16th, and I was going to stay till the morning of the 18th, and it's just going to be one traveler. And then I can search, and it would only list the hosts that were going to be around typically, or who hadn't blocked those dates. You can add different filters. So I have chosen to only have people who are accepting guests or who may be accepting guests. And last login date, sometimes I'll change that to 6 months. And then let's say 25K. And let's say I want to hang out with folks that are older, since I'm older. And then I'll hit search again. And it will limit then my selection. Expand the area. Now I'm down to 500 and some hosts. And you can see there's a variety of people who are willing to open their homes for travelers, and and you can put keywords in like fitness, or I sometimes will put cooking or music, and you'll find some affinities that you can then resonate with the people you stay with. And you see here, this green means that this person's verified at some level, whether it's verification with a address card or a credit card or government ID, some kind of verification. Some people have references as well. And you see they let you know it takes longer than a week to reply over here for this gentleman, but this lady replies between 1 to 3 days. So it just depends on what, and then you can just page through, and then you send them a request and so on. So Couchsurfing is a way that you can afford, if you're looking at the gas, you have to drive, you can't afford to fly. So then maybe you can stay in someone's home. And I've couchsurfed for probably almost 10 years, and I've only had one bad experience. And and that bad experience was very unusual. So yes, couchsurfing. I also have hosted and have not had a bad experience in hosting. All right, so another option, let's say you don't feel comfortable staying with a total stranger and crashing for free, then you can also try something like Airbnb. I am a member of Airbnb, but I didn't plan on logging in and showing you Airbnb. But that one's, that one's pretty straightforward. You can, let's see. San Mateo. Okay, San Mateo. And let's say we would check in. We just did that. And then we would check out the 18th. And it's one guest and search. All right. So these are people's home. And they'll let you know what the price is. You pay everything through the site. And it goes from there. And you can see these are pretty nicely appointed homes and so on. typically you might be saving compared to a hotel price, depending on where you go. So, couch surfing, if you want to stay with locals on the inexpensive or free, and Airbnb would be like, I'd rather stay with somebody who's local rather than staying at a hotel. Okay, I would prefer to do that. All right, so you have seen how to make sure your navigation is cool. You have seen ways to stay on the cheap. And there's one other thing I wanted to do on this, maybe two others. The one other. I think the thing I want to do next is I want to go back to maps, and I want to talk about amenities, like what to do when you're in town, particularly on the nutrition side, since some of you may have a special nutrition preference. Like myself, I'm a vegan, so I would want to know, hey, is there any vegan restaurants near San Mateo? So once I've gotten to my location here on Google Maps, I can click nearby, and I can type in a keyword, and I'm going to choose vegan. And so it looks like, if I zoom in, there are a number of places that have included vegan as part of their description. And I don't know, I could then go through the list right here and then kind of see how much I want to spend and so forth and so on. You can also do this. Let's be more specific. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the actual the location for the event. I'm going to put San Mateo College. Is that what it is? College of San Mateo. All right, College of San Mateo. Let's do that. San Mateo College. Let me see what happens when I do this. College of San Mateo in San Mateo. Okay. So, and I have been to this campus. It's a nice campus. I could also search nearby. So let's maybe say grocery store. Maybe you don't have a preference, but you don't like to eat out. You can see there's a grocery store that's not too far. There's several grocery stores. Trader Joe's isn't too far, and so on. So you can use that to give you an idea, particularly if you're going to be traveling and if you're flying in and you needed to Uber around or whatever it is you needed to do if you weren't renting a car. So I would use Google Maps for something like that. I think that's a lot more effective than using Waze or some navigation app like that, because Google Maps then gives you a visual, so you can kind of see and get your bearings for where you want to be and what you need to do. All right. I hope this training has been helpful for you and that you've gotten some travel tips that you can use. In another video, we'll talk about airfare and some of those and car rentals. But for this one, we focus mostly on your ground travel, getting to and from, figuring out how much the gas is going to cost, staying in someone's home on the cheap, finding grocery stores that are close by if you didn't want to eat out at a restaurant, and ways to do that. Alrighty, thank you. And if you have any questions or comment, please leave them below, and I'll be glad to respond to you.